Today I wanted to talk about something that I haven't seen very often. Maybe it's a thing, I'm not sure. But a while ago, I had like a bunch of videos recommended to me. They were called the NIFE loop for INFJs. Or the NITI loop, my bad. Yeah, so the NITI loop for INFJs. And I was like, that's interesting. But I didn't think much about it until out of nowhere. I didn't even like see another NITE loop for a while. But it just hit me. I was like, well, if INFJs have NITI loops, then I'm sure all the other types have their, loops as well. So naturally through the reductionist process, because I'm such a reductionist, as most individuals are, because that's something you need. Anyway, yeah, I found out, or not found out, I discovered myself doing certain things, and I can finally explain them through a little more through MBTI, apart from the fact that, hey, I'm FE in my third tier. I don't even know what it's called. Tertiary? Tertiary, I think. Not sure. But yeah, and today I have notes, so I'm not gonna ramble on. Well, I already did for like a minute, 2 minutes. So let's get started. Let's talk about the NEFE loop. A couple of videos ago, I think about 3 videos ago actually, I made this video about FE, developing the FE, where I drew this graph where the more I get to know people, the more conscious I get. And here's the thing, I'm kind of an agreeable person, and maybe this only happens in agreeable ENTPs, or maybe the other ENTPs are just even better putting on a facade than I am, because usually people can't tell what I'm feeling from just looking at me. But so what basically happens, this NEFE loop, is you've got your FE, and your FE is like, hey dude, what up? So here's the scenario, right? You walk into the room, and the friend who normally says hi to you has not said hi to you. This is my personal case scenario, right? So the one person who's always greeted you the moment you come into class didn't do that. Okay, that's cool. I keep my bag down. And hey dude, she hates you. Now you're like, okay, but what did I do? Right? So FE, because like it's a tribe oriented function, right? And I already have kind of not the best FE. So it's kind of like unbalanced, and it's just all over the goddamn place, right? Your FE is going all, they hate you, they hate you, they hate you. And here's the fun part. Here's when your NE kicks in, because your NE is just like, usually in any ENTPs, it's just going all over the damn place, right? It's like, okay, this, possibilities, exploration, blah, blah, blah. And in this case, it does the exact same thing. So what happens is, your FE is already like, they hate you, and then your NE goes,
yeah, they totally do.
You know why? It's because
2 days ago in the cafeteria, while you were eating lunch, you saw her pass by, but she didn't see you, but you didn't say hi. But maybe she saw the fact that you didn't see her, and then you didn't say hi. But then why is it that yesterday she did say hi to me, but today she didn't? Maybe she's being passive-aggressive.
you get what I'm trying to say, right? Or like yesterday, I was having a rough day, so my tone was a little off when I said hi, and maybe that offended her in some way. And your FE is just trying everything in the goddamn world to justify the fact, to justify why she just didn't say hi to you before, right? And your NE is doing all these goddamn crazy things where it's like 500 different things, and like, this is what can happen, this is what can happen, and here's what's happened. And and you end up actually forming an opinion on the basis of that or whatever sounds more logical, because your TI is still there, right? But it's not really doing its job. Because if it was, then it would be like, hey, shut the frick up. No, that's not what it is. She probably just didn't see you walk in the goddamn class. Wow, that was so southern. Class. Anyway, yeah, she probably just didn't see you walk into the damn class, and that's probably just what it is. But again, your NE and your FE, you just get into this like repetitive cycle, or I have, at least whenever this happens, I just get into this like repetitive cycle of someone constantly just assuming that they hate me because I did something and come to conclusions too fast. And ironically, it's really funny because and it's only these small things, you know, when my friends are actually angry at me, I don't really notice it that often. I do notice it, but I'm not the best at it. But when like my NEFE loop is already sort of active, then it goes even crazier. This also happens like, okay, so I have two calls, like instead of my mom calling me just one time, I have 2 missed calls from her, and then in my head it'll be like, oh shit, what did I do? Wait, did this happen? Did that happen? And just I overthink. And I've noticed this is a trait in me since, like, it's been a trait in me always, and it's also maybe a highly neurotic thing because I have like higher neuroticism. Whenever something goes even slightly off, I'm just gonna assume the worst. So when I was a kid and my mom used to go for her work, she would come back, and sometimes she would be a little late, right? Wow, I'm like such a happy kid. Yeah, so sometimes she would be a little late, and I would like, so there was this, so she would like, we used to live in like apartment buildings, and so she would drive the car, and she would just sort of come in, and she would like beep the horn of her car, and it had like a distinct sound, and every time I would hear that sound, I would go down to greet her because I was just a great kid. But so she would usually be home at like a certain time. I don't remember what that was. But if she would be even slightly late, I would panic. Like, my TI, I mean, I was a kid back then, but like still, I was like, what, 6, 7 years old? Maybe even 5, maybe 4. I don't know. Yeah, my TI would just go super crazy, and it would just be like, well, she's dead. You know, that's the first thing that would come into my mind, and then all these scenarios of how I was a really happy kid. No, really, I was an okay kid, but this is just, I was just always like very panicked kid, like, and it's like I had no sense of my TI, and I would just get into these loops where I'd be like, okay, well, while she was driving the car, maybe she would have had an accident, because on news I've been seeing that there have been more accidents lately. So, and I would just constantly like make up scenarios for like hours, sometimes even just like start crying. Sometimes I would just actually start crying because I didn't know if that happened or not. And I would just panic. And it was just so like scary all the time. And it still is for me sometimes. Like, I've definitely gotten better at it. But here's how you manage it. You listen, although it kills you. You see, every time you're in your NEFE loop, you're still gonna have like a little bit of your TI peeking through. You know, you're gonna be like, yeah, well, there are like 900 billion possibilities as to why this person who I walked into class, as to why this person's mad at me, or why this person is not on time, or whatever. It's overthinking at its peak, by the way. And all you do is, there's gonna be this like little part of your TI which is gonna be like, dude, shut up. You know that maybe that's not true. And all you have to do is succumb to that TI. Or you just need to be like, alright, maybe she doesn't hate me. And if she does, as to why. And usually, most of the time, voila, they don't hate you. They're probably just like, oh hey, I didn't even see you walked into class. Or my mom would be like, well, there's work. There's more work than normally there is. I was like, oh yeah, well, fair enough. And it's like all the anxiety for nothing. But all you had to do was listen to that little TI. And if that doesn't work, I get it, because it doesn't always, and it's really difficult to actually succumb to the TI. Distract yourself. Even though your NE is doing batshit crazy things, you gotta find this other thing where your NE can just do things. So don't do something that usually allows you to think. Do something like listen to a podcast. Try to focus on the podcast. Usually one thing's not enough for me, so I need to do like 2 or 3 things together. Maybe go for a run and listen to a podcast, or like anything that gets your mind off of the NEFE loop, because it gets really difficult to get out of it. It's just like, well, my family's dead, I don't know what's gonna happen to me now. And the worst part is sometimes it, like, nothing even has to happen, you just get into it. Like sometimes I'm just gonna be sleeping and I'm gonna just have like my NEFE loop going crazy. The best bet, I think, is just distract yourself. How you can turn that around is actually you listen to your TI, and then instead of having your NE produce thoughts for FE, you have thoughts to produce your TI. So it's like, well, they can't be mad at me because I just walked into class. Or their personality normally is one that's more confrontational, so she would actually confront me if she's mad about anything than actually ignore me. But I think that's like not really the greatest way to go about it, because then you end up using like wrong reasons to justify your FE. Try to succumb to that little part of TI where it's just like, dude, that's not true, and just go for that part. Like, don't try to justify as such into great depths or in great detail why that's not true. Just try to like slightly be like, yeah, you know, I just walked into class, there's no way she can be mad. Like, no, she's not mad at me. Or if she is, then we'll sort it out and she'll talk to me, and just sort of like leave it there, which is extremely difficult, I know. Trust me, I know. But you gotta do it, because it's like for your own sanity, you know. And if you're the FE, so usually it's very much related to like the tribe outside. It's like, what do they think of me? Anyways, so how do you usually deal with it when you get into these NEFE loops? Because I can have a really tough time. Okay, thank you for watching.